part of the way to showing the board and in the town that we are doing what we can with the resources that we have available and going above and beyond to get not great financing to do work that, to do the work that needs to be done.
I do have a little concern though. $50,000 for that building is not going to go very far.
Correct.
That's barely touching the issues.
I believe that it will cost about $80,000 to fix up the building. Without having an engineering report approved by Andy Casey, I don't know whether that is fairly accurate, but talking to the engineer, that looks like what we can do. We can probably bootstrap some of it. We have some materials in storage. My dad has done carpentry work his whole life. My brother was an apprentice electrician for a long time. We have plenty of people in the family, and we will be able to make it work, and that is our intention. And even if it is not able to get finished for that money, the structural elements will get fixed, the exterior will get fixed, and if that leaves the interior, at least we've gone a long way to clean up the outside of the building. And by that point, some of the other pieces of the portfolio will have sold, and we will be able to use that money to reinvest, and use cash flow to reinvest back into the building to finish it.
Okay, I want to get to Tony.
It's not so much a question anymore, it's just a comment on Dave and Beth. And I appreciate your honesty with saying you've bitten off too much than you can chew. I just would like to echo Dave's sentiment saying it's time to kind of stop moving forward and really taking the bull by the horns and kind of addressing these issues. I think it's when we're trying to clean up Southbridge, and you get some properties on Main Street, highly visible. I just think it's great that you're putting into the town. But that being said, I think I've been around for a while on board. I've seen the flexibility, and I've seen Andy working with you. But at some point,
So I would suggest that we've made our concerns known, from the board standpoint, that you come back next month and report to the board. So we obviously you can't do everything right now. I mean, these are the concerns, and so you know where we're coming from. Is that acceptable to that come back?
You want to come back? The thing,
We
I
want to
think
see
we're pretty
movement.
flexible. We
want to
work
see
with you,
movement.
and we're concerned, but we're also understanding. We just want to see some movement, and I think I think it's fair for us and the townspeople within here. And like you said, you're from this place, and so I think you really want to do what's right. I think sometimes we just need a little correction.
Okay, I understand.
No, we all do.
I appreciate your flexibility, and I've taken notes. If you would like to field any other concerns that you have.
And the other thing is just to make sure, there's nothing more that concerns, I think I can speak for the board, that when Andy sends communications to a property owner and we hear nothing. The only way that we can judge that is we're being ignored. We need to have the communication. If you're working on something, the flexibility is there. If we know the communication, you're going to communicate to us. If we feel like we're being ignored, my opinion is then we are not going to be flexible.
Okay.
Because we have nothing to be flexible with.
Okay. So Andy, do you have a bucket list of things? I mean, we've kind of ping-ponged here a little bit. Can you
Or a priority
succinct it? A priority list?
I have a verbal agreement with Mr. Foote that I will work with him to save 66 Central, provided he first gets 111 Central roof on. The only thing I have an agreement with him is the roof. I have spoken to both Mr. Foote and the potential buyer about those open windows. Both of them have promised me that they will get those windows closed, and that was 3 to 5 weeks ago.
Okay.
I have spoken specifically to Mr. Foote about the ugly boarded front door where the thread connection used to be, saying that that's a heavily traveled road, and that is definitely not a condition we want to see on one of our gateways to the center of town. He has assured me that will be removed. These are really the only 2 properties that I'm working tightly with Mr. Foote on. He has explained to the board that he has $50,000 to fix 66 Central. I will put it before the board right now that it's my fault 66 Central is not moving forward, because I am not going to move 66 forward and take it off the demo list until I am confident that our agreement on 111 is done. So I'm not gonna negotiate with him on that until it's done. Having said that, I also told Mr. Flick that I will be filing a contempt of court, say, to pull down the 66 Central Street in early July. So it will be in his best interest to get that roof done and fully paid for, because either I will go bring it back to court in early July for a demo, or I will bring it back to court to get a new court order on it for reviving it according to whatever schedule Mr. Flick, myself, and Casey come up with. I have not made it a secret that I'm gonna bring that back to court. So I anticipate a quick completion to at least the roof on 111. And again, the roof is the only thing that was under negotiation with Mr. Fluck. I was worried about that one occupant and displacing that occupant. So I envision early to mid-July, we should get some sort of final legal resolution on either the roof is not gonna get completed and the building's coming down, or the roof will have been completed and we'll be working with Mr. Foote to schedule repairs to 66.
What is exactly left on the roof? The majority of it is complete?
I keep hearing talk about some brickwork, which I'm not aware of. The brickwork looks good to me, but I keep hearing talk about some brickwork, and inside needs to be insulated. The roof, in order to issue a permit on a roof, it has to be the complete roof. It can't just be the membrane, it can't be.
Okay, so the
complete roof
membrane's
has to be-
on and it's watertight?
It's waterproof.
Okay,
It's
So all the
watertight.
work being done.
okay.
So we just need to get the insulation finished on the inside, and I believe Mr. Foote owes 25%. The agreement, I don't care who's doing it, I don't care if the new owner does it, the agreement was Mr. Foote will be responsible for the repair, so therefore I will owe Mr. Foote.
I just wanted to make
Pay
sure
for
that the
the
building
repair.
is secured enough that it doesn't deteriorate any further, which then your hole gets bigger. And that was my big concern, because I saw the roof, and that's my concern with the windows.
I also spoke to the purchaser today, or the potential purchaser today, about those windows, because I have talked to him before. I said, if you have a financial interest in this thing, then you should be able to get access to get those windows closed for me, and he promised it in the past.
It's an easy fix.
Today, he told me that he needs to cut some shims to hold them up. I'm like, seriously, that's what's holding it up?
Really?
I can do that with a 2x4.
Well, he had plenty of
You're
guys out
absolutely
there
right.
today working
He
on it,
said-
on the other
Piece of
roof.
ferret strip and
He
a...
All right.
informed me today that he will be in.
Okay.
So-
All right, so let's shorten this thing up. I think we have a short list that we would expect certainly some movement on, next month here. Is the roof issue, the windows, cleanup of the storefronts, and the front door, which is a gateway. What?
Okay.
Is a gateway.
Yeah, if you
And
could
so-
just please clean up those storefronts, because they look terrible.
And so as long as we see movement, on that front, I know the list is actually much, much bigger that needs to be done. But I think, we would like to see movement on that, because I don't feel certain members of this board are going to be too understanding if that's not happening, by next month.
Is that unrealistic, you think,
No,
or?
not at all. No, this is, I appreciate your flexibility. The windows, the door boarded up, both of those I can commit to having completely done, the storefront completely done. The sale, I have been doing this enough to know that sales sometimes get tied up for a long time. However, that won't stop the roof getting done. Whoever owns the building is I think, immaterial at this point. Andy and I did have a conversation. He is adamant that the roof gets done whether I own it or whether the buyer owns it. I'm going to take responsibility for the roof whether I own it or this other buyer owns it. I can commit to doing my best to make sure the roof gets finished by next meeting, but I can't commit to that because Gabriel's ability to do that is outside of my control. Scheduling inspections is beyond my control. But windows, boarded up, door, and the storefront windows are all certainly able to be done well in advance of the next meeting.
Okay.
Can I ask one question before you close it? You have stated to this board that you have been offloading Southbridge,
Yes.
selling your portfolio in Southbridge. Is it your intention to continue that? Or are you going to keep a presence in Southbridge? And specifically, 66 Central Street. I did a lot of work on that prior to you buying it, and it was sold out from underneath all that work. So I guess my question to you and my warning to you is that intended for you to renovate and add to your portfolio, or are you planning on selling it? Because I can tell you, I'm not gonna be comfortable with that.
The plan, if I were to sell it, would be to sell it to my brother. A number of properties that I've owned have been sold to my brother. He is much more, he has a license to carry, and he does what it takes to collect
Carry a
rent
hammer, I
at
hope.
times. Huh?
A license to carry a hammer, I hope, because a gun isn't gonna help them rebuild that place.
Of course, of course. No, not as far as rebuilding it. After it's done, Shane is just, I think, a more attentive type of a person to be doing this. At some point in time, I'm in a master's program right now that distracts me at times from doing this. And Shane, this is his full-time thing. He's been managing my properties for 3 or 4 years now. He is the best person to own this property. So if I do sell 66 Central Street, it will most likely be after completion to my brother. It will be after completion, most likely to
So
my
you
brother.
will
If
complete
it's
it.
not, yes. My intention is to complete this building, not to sell it to somebody else to just kick the can down the road. Especially because I own 70 Central, which is in front of the building. And if that still sits there, that is not going to be productive.
All set, Amy? Anything else before we close this? Okay,
See you July 12th.
Could you
And-
advise the time and date of the next meeting?
well, we'll put you right in the beginning again, so if that's okay with
It'll be
everybody.
July 12th, should be on there.
July
July
12th at 6:30 p.m.?
Let's make it 6:45, yeah.
6.
So we at least we can open the meeting and it'll be early enough that we hopefully don't get
Okay.
tied up in other things.
Okay.
You're not here
Will
for it.
Andy have looked at the progress made, or would you like me to bring photos, or?
I'm sure people,
As often as you can call me, I will be there.
All right.
We've done this before, so it's really, we're willing to help you and, or work with you, I should say. And, we do have an understanding, a little bit of a heart here, so we want you to do the right thing, but it's communication,
Yeah.
that's all it is.
I understand.
Thank you.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And with that, I'd like to close the invitation. I don't know whether we close an
I'll
invitation.
make a motion to close this
Okay,
hearing invitation.
any other comments? Seeing none, so the hearing is closed.
What did you call for a vote since it was a motion?
All right, so about all those in favor of closing the hearing? There we go, unanimous to make Andy happy, okay? It's always about you. 7 PM, we have a Relay for Life, request for a fee waiver.
Do you have a direct request?
Okay.
No one's here.
But I don't necessarily think we need them there. We could-
Just one? I did my homework.
I just want to read it so the board knows what they're making a motion on.
Oh, we got a copy of it.
We've got to read it into record. Wow, so what about making Andy happy?
We'll separate you.
What? Really?
We have a request from the Relay for Life. Preliminary concern, Relay
This
for
was
Life
back in February?
No.
No, you don't get
is the American Cancer, Chris, why is this dated February 20th? Have we had this since February 20th?
We have not.
It says received
That was-
June 11th.
Right, that was the date I received it.
Tells me they copied last year's.
It's possible.
Because
Relay for Life is the American Cancer Society's signature fundraising event, taking place June 15 through 16, 2018, at McMahon Field in Southbridge. This year marks the 21st anniversary of this event. It is a fun-filled overnight event which celebrates survivorship and raises essential funds for the American Cancer Society research and patient services. Teams
I only did from.
formed from businesses, clubs, families, friends, hospitals, churches, schools, and service organizations.
Yes.
Team members share a common purpose to support the American Cancer Society's mission to save lives, celebrate lives, and lead the fight for the world without cancer.
Yeah, as well as.
As volunteer,
Yes.
Helena Benoit and event leadership team would like to request a waiver of the food permit fee to support the event, which takes place June 15 and 16, 2018. The team fundraisers benefits are Relay for Life of Greater Southbridge. If you should need any additional information, please do not hesitate to contact me. Sincerely, Laura Quinn. So before the board is a request to waive the food permit fee. What happens is they have one certified food handler who pulls a permit for all the stations, and she or he takes responsibility as a single unit for all the food stations. Asking a waiver for the food permit fee.
Can I just ask a process question? Should that have been an agenda item? Because we're voting not
It's an
to.
agenda item. It's a hearing. It's a request for a waiver of a fee. So it's essentially a request.
I know, because rather than under hearing, that it would be under, is this really a hearing or just an agenda item?
The fee schedule is in our regulations. It is chapter 10 of our regulations. Therefore, any request or any change from that fee schedule is a variance to our regulations. So it is a hearing for a variance on our regulations.
Okay, so not agenda item.
It's not an agenda
Just,
item.
okay. All right, so that said, does somebody want to make a motion to waive the fee or not waive the fee?
Well, we have to make a motion for discussion, right?
We have to make a motion before we can even have a
No
discussion.
motion, no motion is made. There's no motion on the table.
There's no
And
second.
nothing carries, meaning we don't waive it, nothing changes, there's a fee. So if there's no motion made, then there's nothing to be voted on, and therefore,
There's no motion
So can
and
I-
a second.
Sorry.
it's up to you guys.
Well, because I have comment.
So, but you
Oh,
you don't have to
I'll do it
vote.
like I
You
know
don't
how.
have to, just because you
Wait,
motion.
could I ask a question?
No, what?
Yes.
Oh.
Okay,
We're
so
gonna-
guys, before we can have the discussion, we would have to have a motion
why I
to,
said-
so,
All right, so I make a motion not to waive the fee.
okay, fine. That's a motion. Is there a second? Without a second, that motion fails. So is there another motion?
So I'll make a motion to waive the fee.
Okay, is motion to waive the fee. Is there a second to the motion to waive the fee?
How do I get a question?
You do, you have to
You
second
have to
it.
second. the
Some
motion.
Then the next
motion has to be
time,
seconded.
if you second it, I will say, are there,
Okay,
Just-
I will make, I
we'll
will
second it.
second.
You'll second. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion.
But it's, if you get this motion accurate, because it's gonna be right back.
So,
Listen to my notes.
so since you seconded it, why don't you,
Ask the-
well, actually, you made the motion, why don't you speak to it first?
Like any not-for-profit organization, I want to waive the fee.
Okay?
Question.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
how much time do you have to dedicate towards an event like this?
There will be an application that has to be reviewed, where it's 15 minutes to review the application. This one is probably gonna take a little bit longer because she's gonna have to list every vendor that is coming in under her, her permit, and she's gonna have to list the menus. So say 20 minutes to a half hour to review the application, and then depending on availability, there are some years that I get up there, and I believe, I didn't get there last year, the year before, I believe I was there about 2.5 hours. Checking
Okay,
each of the
just-
vendors, going around the track.
Okay, just, let's
Takes
do
me
one.
1 hour just for one.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay, Pat?
and how much does this permit cost?
$25.
Okay, so
Okay.
2 hours work, $25, and it covers, one permit covers everyone that is there. I am absolutely all for fundraising. However, there is, at some point, there is a cost of doing business when you fundraise. And I, in the past, as a fundraiser, have never asked nor have ever gotten fees waived. It is expected to be a cost of doing business. If we continue to waive fees for every fundraiser that comes in here, then Andy, you remember it says every 2 hours here, 2 hours there, someone is paying for that, and that is our taxpayers. Someone has to foot the bill, and at some point, people have to pay these fees. Otherwise, why do we have a fee schedule? We might as well just throw the fee schedule out the window and say, well, we just won't charge fees for anything, because we're gonna give waivers to everyone anyway. And you can't use the argument, well, you know, it's for a good cause, because everyone has a good cause, and I understand that. But at some point, there is a cost of doing business.
Roland?
This is such a minute cost of a permit. If this permit was something like $150, I would consider chopping it or making a motion to chop it down. But to do everything that you said, Andy, all these different vendors, I am absolutely sure that some other organizations or some other facilities don't waive. But for a lousy $25 to save face for our, because we're gonna hit one that to me does not deserve any consideration, and how do we keep a standard, or how do we keep, $25 I think is chump change for a 2-day function, and I agree, it's for a very good cause, but we're here for a reason.
Yeah. Okay, everyone, 2 shots. Anyone have anything? Anything else?
No?
Okay, anything? Got it? Roland? Okay. Seeing none, the motion on the table is to waive the fee. So we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of waiving the fee? 2. All those opposed? Okay, 3 to 2. The fee is not waived. Okay. All right.
So I'll make a motion to close this one.
Okay. So a motion to close. We have a motion. We have a second. Second. Beth, did you second it?
I did.
Okay. So I don't believe it's discussion for closing. I think it's just all those in favor of closing the meeting. Fine. Unanimous. Okay. So now we are down to, where are we? We are down to agenda item number 6, subcommittee. 6A, landfill oversight committee.
Took a lot.
You wanna?
We took a long time on that other one. There we go. All right. So today we had a landfill oversight committee, our first one, since reopening. And what we did was, there we go, there they are. Here we go. Actually, I don't have any more copies.
That's okay, because I have mine.
You have your copy?
We have ours from earlier,
So
Roland.
you
You
have.
want some, Nate?
Like to make a copy of this for Nate?
Sure.
I can look on with that.
Yeah, look at, yeah, that's
Yeah, let me make a cappuccino.
Oh.
I'll just make a-
I got this, Rich, I don't want you to miss anything.
So Andy doesn't count.
So the whole purpose of this was to start the, to reinvigorate landfill oversight committee again. What we did, Roland and I, we opened a new mission statement to go outside the boundary of the landfill itself after it's closed, I should say. We also talked about the origins, we talked about the responsibility, so everything's within that contract is still there. As far as the membership is still the same as before, we can't deviate from that. But the mission statement has changed. The landfill oversight committee recommended to go to the board for final approval. And that's, not only that, we also made a motion to recommend Roland as the chair of the landfill oversight committee and Maureen Boyle as the secretary of the landfill oversight committee. And one thing that was not brought up was, well, it was brought up, but is the second board member on the Board of Health. So the need two, so rolling is one. And I think everybody else has a responsibility, like traffic and sustainability, so we'll need.
Yeah, we will have a vacancy.
We'll need a second one for that.
I can still do the second, because traffic is not as difficult. We don't, we have a meeting, but it's not as,
It was just something, I know you already have that responsibility.
if nobody else wants to be the second for the landfill oversight, I will do it.
So that was something that I think
So
we need
there.
to make a motion on, as far as the Board of Health. Or we went ahead and approved it, but let's just say we recommended it to the Board of
Yes.
Health.
The other thing we discussed, that I think going down the road in the future, on any of the agendas that I put together for the oversight, I am going to title it Board of Health, Combination Board of Health Landfill Oversight Committee. So if we do have more members of the Board of Health that want to sit in on it, that covers us, because we will have a quorum.
You're right, and that's what we discussed last time, and I forgot to tell Britton.
And that's a standard thing that I believe the council does in all the subcommittees now to cover themselves.
Okay, do we have to incorporate this? Do we have to vote to incorporate this through the Board of Health, and we just?
I would argue that that the landfill oversight committee is a requirement of the site assignment. Therefore, it is created by the Board of Health. And as far as the mission statement of this and the governance of this, it is up to the Board of Health to set the parameters. And I would recommend that they be set as presented.
So I'm not loving the idea of voting for something that we're just getting at the time. I'm for letting people put this on the agenda for the July meeting. And just so people can think about it, and just maybe add something to it. I'll relook at the, condition 58. But I do like the mission statement, it's to project past but if that's okay with people, to just put it as an agenda item to vote to accept.
And if we could suggest that, if you have a minute, if you could send the board the original condition 58 so that they can compare it. There weren't many changes, a lot of it was just tidied up, and we had the concern of the terminology of landfill operations, because somebody could say when it's no longer a landfill and it's closed, even though there might be a lot of subjects to talk about, that it doesn't apply. So we changed it for post-closure.
Right, so that was your mission statement
Yeah.
that we came up with. Your origins remain the same, that doesn't change. Your membership does not change whatsoever. The only change that I would say within the responsibilities is the fact that we said a quorum is whoever shows up within that. Airport manager, airport commission, executive, conservation, the two Board of Health members. Obviously, if there is one person, that's a judgment call, but it is what it is.
But if
It's
you
a
have the
quorum.
chairman and the secretary,
Yeah, it's the majority quorum is
Yeah,
the.
the quorum is there that day.
yeah.
So,
The
because
majority of the people who are there makes.
if there's two, there's two, right?
So we may just want to, when we think about this, that there has to be a minimum at least, maybe a two.
This was
Two
actually
might not
written
Okay.
in response to multiple months of 2 people showing up, 3 people
Yeah.
showing up, and
I
therefore
get it.
no business could get done. This was.
No, I have no problem, let's
No,
just think about it.
And I completely understand where you're coming from, and I think that's something we discussed at the behest of the fact that it died out again and again, because people aren't showing up to it, and it is at the behest of the Board of Health to make that decision, not per se a charter. We went to that, yes.
Okay.
Just quick question, about the membership. The 2 citizens, we have 2 citizens, but do we have to get them appointed by the town council? Is that,
Yes. Under the operations, it is
Okay.
town, Board of Health will recommend to the town council. Matter of fact.
Because then, I mean, we have Kevin and Maureen, but then Maureen would kind of be double duty.
Conservation Committee.
Because she would be conservation, but she also could be, you know, and, yeah, so I mean,
But it still follows the parameters of us citizen members on town council committees.
Right.
You can be multiple positions.
right, I just meant about just having to get them approved by town council.
All right, Dave.
So,
last minute thing?
Well, the only thing I completely agree, if that's what that you guys want, is to look over that oversight committee that I just gave you. But I would recommend put a motion on as far as the chair and the secretary, so they can start moving on with this committee.
Okay, I have.
And it was voted on unanimously.
Okay. Anyone have a problem with that? Okay. So that's fine. So the chair and the secretary can move forward.
So we're gonna make a motion.
So I'll make a motion
Motion.
for Roland LaRochelle to be the chair of the landfill oversight committee and Maureen Doyle to be the secretary.
Any other, second? Second, Dave second. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Where's this word?
Quick question for Andy.
There's nothing.
We cannot go, because also in here, we put the date of first meeting in July, so that any reorganization or anything goes on the fiscal year like everything else in town. Our two citizen members. When should that go up? Let's say second meeting, council meeting in July, because the first one's organizational to be reappointed?
Because these are an initial appointment,
Yep,
we just did it with the tobacco officers.
yes,
We appointed them as of 2 weeks ago, I believe, a week and a half ago.
yep.
So they started prior to July 1st. So we are currently establishing this board, so we can appoint them
But we
now
don't know
and
where-
appoint them for the 2000.
Yeah, we don't know where their expiration date was on
There
that.
is none,
There is none?
no,
Okay.
because I was also appointed to the landfill oversight.
Oh, you were,
Oh.
okay.
And it's an open-ended, so Kevin and Maureen have been appointed ever
Oh,
since
okay,
day
so
one.
then.
Oh, so we
then
don't have to
wouldn't-
worry about
So we
that.
wouldn't have to do
All right.
that.
No.
So
Kevin and
fine.
Maureen have been there since meeting one.
Unless they resign, we don't have to do it.
They're never going away.
And we're not letting you resign, we're not letting you
So-
go
I
anyway.
don't
Once
know,
you're
I
on
have
it,
a piece
you're
of paper
on it
from
forever.
The town seal that
Oh,
says
that's
you're
right.
on the landfill oversight.
Try to escape.
It might have been, it was a long time.
Okay.
I covered a lot of ground.
All right, let's move on. We're gonna put this on the agenda. Right, anyone has anything else? We have the chair and the secretary approved. And if we have anybody who wants to make additions, changes, or have concerns, we'll deal with that next week. So, all right, you okay with that?
I'm fine.
Okay. All right, so, where are we?
You will be.
Say something.
So, Triapic, let's get back to my agenda. Here we go. So we are agenda item number 6B, Triapic.
So they actually had a meeting on Tuesday, I was unable to attend, because I was, well, I don't know.
Well,
I'll
once
start calling you
again,
and making you go if I
Go to
can.
work upstairs.
once again, work gets in the way of your
Well, yeah.
duties.
I know. Sustainability.
Sustainability. Sustainability made a proposal to this board about a plastic bag ban.
Yeah.
We would like to get that on the agenda, get that out to people, I mean, with your changes as a document to either be approved or changed for the next meeting. This-
So, well, probably want to present it at the next meeting, give everybody opportunity to comment on it in the meeting. Obviously get it up before the meeting. Thereafter, I would advise bringing it back again for final discussion after everybody has a chance to dwell on everything. So we're probably in August then. If
Yeah.
this board chooses to go forward with a bag ban, we can advertise it sometime in August, possibly get a vote on a regulation in September or October after.
Yeah, and then because we have to open it up for public.
But definitely, it's not required under the
But we
law,
would do
but
it.
we will have
We
it.
would do it. We've been doing that.
Yeah.
We try to be as open as we
Yeah.
can. Okay.
moving forward.
So, we will be working on a styrofoam, at some point.
That's a styrofoam, okay, yes.
Plastic bag, styrofoam. We talked about doing them together, we decided to split them into two issues, they're two separate issues. And I think styrofoam's a little more complicated than the plastic bag. There was so much universal agreement on the plastic bag. And since we started, another 15 communities in the last month and a half have joined on with similar bag bans. Okay, ICS.
Okay, so we had a meeting on June 7th. So we're missing 2 people in that meeting. Anyways, what we did was I did recommend that we went ahead to postpone it, but we actually went ahead and just discussed quite a few things. You know, I think we clarified a few responsibilities and actions, and what I think was really, really good for us to do. So I think we need to set up another date for that, but I think that's up to you in the next meeting. But it all went well. I think we're moving in the right direction. We're moving slowly though, but we're moving at least. And I think people are starting to have a better understanding, actually building something in their head, a vision of what it's going to look like. So the more and more we talk, I think the better it's becoming. So we just need to get there. It went well.
Dave, what's gonna happen with you and
So I would like to, if the board wants me to, and Andy wants me to, I'd like to stay on. So I don't think it's a conflict of interest in any way.
I don't know if I'm for quitters, so. We'll talk about it.
I wouldn't have known that if, oh, that's right, you showed up today, never mind.